some guests bring title, others bring real stories from the field. Before running award-winning programs or leading student projects across the continent, today's guest was out there working with businesses, consulting, and doing kind of stuff that doesn't show up in most textbooks. He doesn't just talk about entrepreneurship, he put students right into the middle of it. From Melbourne to Texas to Southeast Asia, he's helping build the kind of learning that hands-on, real, and actually useful. Welcome to another episode of School to Startup, brought to you by Tracxn, a private market intelligence platform that's been supporting the global startup ecosystem for over 12 years now. Through our university partnerships, we work with institutions driving innovation and entrepreneurship, and this series highlights the academic making that happen. I'm Harish, your host today, and joining us is Dr. Wade, Senior Lecturer in Work Integrated Learning at Deakin Business School, Deakin University. Dr. Wade, great to have you here.
Thank you, Harish. Good to be with you.
Great. So how did you turn into a career in academia? Did you always want to be here?
Well, it's interesting because my mother, when I was growing up and sort of trying to think about what career I should pursue, kept telling me I'd make a great teacher, but I never went anywhere near it. So I went into work, really. My first job was with a record company. Do you remember records, big black round things we used to play music on turntables? So my first job was actually selling records. And it took me some time to develop an interest in marketing. And from that, I springboarded into, I guess my last executive job was with the West Australian newspaper. And I then started my own publishing company. Because I watched the newspaper and I thought, these guys aren't fantastic operators and yet they're making a lot of money. So I went out and started my own publishing company. And we sold that after about 5 years. We built it into a fairly large company, Australia-wide company. And then I started needing to know more about business. And so I went back to university for some postgrad work. And that's where I got hooked. I ended up doing an MBA and I got invited to start teaching. And I found that I really got a lot of satisfaction from helping young people develop their views of the world and views of business. And I developed through that sort of part-time teaching an approach to learning that's proven to be very successful. And that's experiential learning. So I don't go into a lecture theatre with students and hammer them with theory and then have them give it back to me on an exam. I create learning experiences. And that lent itself really well to entrepreneurial skill-based stuff. So, I start out students when they join my class where they are finding out your purpose. And we've got an interactive system that inquires. And I guess to cut a long story short, what I found was the students learned so much more through the experiences that I created than they ever did trying to remember stuff to put back on an exam paper. So that became more and more fun for me. Really that's from there on in. I sold a business that we had, an agricultural manufacturing business, had some time and money, and I sat down with my wife and we looked at Maslow's hierarchy and I said, it's that self-actualization that I really want to think about. So I took off to Sweden and did a PhD.
Interesting.
In the academic world, nobody will take you seriously without a PhD. So it's grown from there, really, Harish.
Right. Great. So tell us, what are you working on these days that's got you excited?
What I've done recently, very successfully, we're just entering into our third year of providing an international business education for entrepreneurs without having to transfer them, without having the costs of the time, the expenses of flying across to other countries. So my students here in Melbourne connect with students in University of Texas in Dallas, and together they share a project. And it's through a system that's been set up by a Fulbright scholar at UTD, where the students' systems don't have to be integrated. So they don't have to enroll in each other's universities. They don't have to get into the systems and computer systems at each other's universities. We use tools that are free of cost. Google Meetings is one of them. And what they do is they get to know these students in this other culture. They get to become connected, and then on that they build their group work. So what I'm really excited about is at the end of this session, the end of this project, we run it over a 6-week period, I've got local students who haven't really had to go out of the country, who have started a network with American students, collaborated on work together, and started that international network. And I find that really exciting.
Interesting. Adding on to that, right, one thing I love about your programs is how global they are. Student working with teams across different countries. So what's something surprising or memorable that's come out of these international projects?
Well, understanding other cultures is critical. And for a global mindset, we need our students to be able to realize that different cultures carry with it different sorts of priorities. And the big learning one was in the first year we ran this, the year before last. The students at Deakin in Melbourne, Australia, working together with students at Texas, at University of Texas at Dallas, collaborating on a project, reached the week before the final presentation, and the American students all disappeared. I kept getting calls from my students saying, hey, we can't find them. They're not responding. We're panicking. We've got this project that's due. Turned out that Thanksgiving is not just one day's holiday in America. It's a whole week. And they take off. So the day before the final presentation, they obviously all returned from holiday. My students and the American students finished off their projects and presented really well the following day. So we learned to allow for those differences in the calendar, I guess, between cultures. We've got to pre-plan those things. You can't just leave it to fate.
Right. So you have mentioned or you have mentored a lot of students and seen a lot of startup work, right? So what's a mistake that actually ends up being a good thing to go through?
I'd have to say the most serious thing that I've learned, and I'm trying to carry this into other courses as well, not just entrepreneurship, but essential to innovation is the ability to overcome fear of failure. Students spend their whole academic lives getting marks, passing exams, passing assessments, trying to get the highest mark they can, avoiding failure. And they come into an innovation class and you say, well, what about this? What's the proactive step you can take? And like, oh, I'm worried if I make the wrong step, it's going to be a failure. When really, in innovation, you need to step into the unknown. You need to take action and move forward and then work out whether you pivot or whether you are on track. Learning from stepping out into the unknown requires university students particularly, I find, to overcome that sense of doing something where they'll be seen to be failing. Learning from failure, there's a lot of the texts will tell you, a lot of the experts in the field will tell you, we learn a lot more from failure than we do from success.
Very true. And for everyone tuning in, if you're enjoying this conversation, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Tracxn YouTube channel. Click on the bell icon so you don't miss any future episodes with incredible guests like Dr. Wade.
Thank you, Harish.
All right. So for someone viewing, right, be it a student, maybe a student who's just starting out, what's that advice you want to give them if they are thinking about entrepreneurship but not sure where to begin?
Well, I think it's very important to understand that entrepreneurship isn't all about startups. It's not all about creating new companies. And most people coming into the field think of Bill Gates, Elon Musk, those kind of entrepreneurs that create multi-billion-dollar companies. What's important in the early stages is to understand, firstly, what it takes to have an entrepreneurial mindset, and then to work on the skill set, entrepreneurial skill set. Research has shown us a range of skills and capabilities that are most common to successful entrepreneurs. And that's what we focus on in the early stages of our education with our entrepreneurs. Young students learn to become solutions-oriented, to be adaptable, and what's most important, anti-fragile. Do you know what anti-fragile might mean, Harish? Have you heard the term before?
Not at all.
We talk about resilience with students. We talk about resilience with young people, overcoming obstacles. Anti-fragile goes one step further, where people or individuals are capable of learning from all the cacophony of noise and obstacles and issues and problems that occur. They not only overcome that, but that builds their future anti-fragility, their ability to build their capabilities on top of all of that confusion. So the entrepreneurial mindset, it's a framework that MIT Sloan Business School is quite well known for. And those three attributes are learnable. So we can actually help young entrepreneurs to gain that level of confidence in those three areas of mindset, entrepreneurial mindset. What I do take students through, rather than expecting at the beginning of an entrepreneurship course that they're going to end up with a startup, we're saying, okay, let's not focus on that. Let's have a look at the skill set you need to develop. And your ideation is one. I mean, you can think of a dozen. We end up with going through minimum viable products. We look at validating assumptions in a business model. There's a range of skills that we help the students build through experiential programs so that they come out knowing when somebody, maybe they're at the coffee shop and a friend of theirs says, I've got this great idea for a business. Okay, let's have a look at this. What's the value proposition? Who's the target market? What are the channels you're going to use? Now, with that in mind, you've got those things planned out. What's your revenue model? And 9 particular areas of the business model canvas to go through all of those, and then to go out and not just rely on your own assumptions, which is where most of the failure occurs in new businesses, but to validate that with research. Talk to the consumers, talk to the suppliers, talk to people in the market, and validate through research all of those areas. And that's why I found that university studies with entrepreneurship have quite a good match, because we train young university students to research, find out the facts, go for the truth, get all of the background research to base your thinking on. And that's the fundamental element now that we look at the lean approach to new business, to startup development, is to do that quickly, inexpensively, and before we spend a lot of money and before we spend a lot of effort trying to set something new up. It's a long answer, Harish. I hope it wasn't too long.
It's very interesting to learn all those things. You've also created programs where students work directly with real businesses, right? Not pretend only the case studies. What kind of change do you see in students when they get to work on real problems?
This is a fun part of my job. We focus on small businesses because bringing students together on project work with a company, you look at a senior executive and they don't make all the decisions in the organization. So students dealing with an owner of a small to medium enterprise get a hold and work together with an owner that can actually make decisions based around all the elements of the business. So the really exciting part, the real part that grabs me, is when the students are interviewing the client in a consultancy relationship. So we teach international business consulting. We teach business consulting on an internal level. But when students get together with the business and they take the brief and they analyze the client's business, and then I can see in their eye, a little spark comes up when they go, this person is expecting real value from me, real value from my group. That's his livelihood. That's his enterprise. That's his business. He's relying on us to deliver value from the time and commitment that he's making to help us. And then you see the step up in the commitment from the students, the engagement, knowing that it's real. And that's the exciting part with that program. They then learn how to develop the relationship with the client and get more information, and then how to pitch persuasively to the client so that their recommendations are fully backed through research. But it's that moment where they go, click, this is real, that I enjoy the most.
Interesting. On the flip side, right, so you've worked with students and businesses all over Australia, Southeast Asia, and the US.
Yeah.
Do you think startup founders could actually learn something from students?
This is a great question. I haven't set these questions up for you, have I?
No.
In fact, we've just had a paper accepted for publication in our upcoming Small to Medium Enterprise World Congress taking place in Cairo in December. The whole basis of the paper is that we teach the students in the Business Development Clinic how to learn a particular framework for helping SMEs. We call it 7 levers. They learn that framework, and then as part of the consulting with the client, they teach the client how to use that framework. And it's an SME-focused one on lifting profit. So it's the main focus of a small enterprise. And by teaching the client how to use that, I guess, shortened framework, if you like, it's not a full strategic plan, but focusing on profit building, the 7 areas you can impact in order to lift profit. They teach the SME owner how to use that, and then they can use that in order to develop strategy-informed decision-making in their small business. Now, as you know, most small businesses don't have the time, the expertise to go into strategic planning. So what we do is we teach the small businesses in order to make more effective decisions, how to do that strategic planning.
Interesting.
Is that a good answer, Harush?
Yes. So you have won awards for teaching and program design. So I have to ask you this. What makes a great entrepreneurship course today? And where do you think we still need to improve?
I think what makes a really good entrepreneurship course is connecting it with the real world. Universities have a reputation for being elitist, for being out of touch with reality. Entrepreneurship is about making things happen, and it has to be done at a real level. You have to know when you've got a concept how to develop that and make that call, not married to the idea, trying to prove it, but making through your research informed decisions on whether to proceed or not. And so bringing it into the world of reality is important. And I've done a series of interviews myself similar to the ones that you're doing with successful entrepreneurs and giving them insights into the real world rather than what might come out of a textbook or what might be taught through theory. So yeah, connecting with the real world of entrepreneurship, the real business world.
I was asking, you have also done research on student confidence, decision making, and entrepreneurial thinking. So if you were to redesign the entrepreneurship education from scratch, what would you do differently?
I would totally rip out all of the assessments that are traditional at universities, and I'd set them up in a different way so that students had a series of milestones to pass through as they develop their capabilities. I think a lot of entrepreneurship at universities is about pitching for a new business. And I'd make it more around developing the skills and capabilities, because not all graduates are going to want to start a new business, but a lot of them need the skills and capabilities that we talk about, that entrepreneurs exhibit, even in being employed with others. Large organizations are developing innovation centers within their organizations. People are looking for decision makers, people that are not just problem seekers, but solutions-oriented people. So the elements of an entrepreneurship mindset are valuable, transferable skills that students, graduates can take into jobs.
Interesting. All right, so let's wrap with a quick fire round. First thing that comes to mind, one book every entrepreneur should read.
Oh, okay. Disciplined entrepreneurship is probably, it's a complex one. Bill Olet is a very famous academic in entrepreneurship, has mapped out 24 key steps that an entrepreneur needs to undertake to develop a startup company. I find that incredibly good value. And the other one is business model generation. the author that came up with the business model canvas. So I'd have to say those two. But then I'd look at something like the Golden Arches as well, the founder of McDonald's, and how he got in these late 50s to start up an organization that became a global conqueror.
Right. That's my favorite too. So one mistake every student should probably make once if he wants to become an entrepreneur.
Fail at something. Fail at something significant. Do it quick. Do it while you're young. I've had a lot of success, but I've also lost a lot of money in a couple of ventures. And boy, you'll learn so much more when you lose.
Right, very true. So what's your go-to coffee order during busy project season?
Oh, look, a flat white with an extra shot of coffee and 1 sugar.
Right.
I keep an espresso machine on hand just to make sure that I don't have to go out to get it.
Right. Finally, where can people find out more about your work, your programs, or even reach out to connect?
You can find, if you go to the Deakin University website, you can find, we have a function called Find an Expert, and you just plug in my name and it'll give you the contact details. And I'm more than happy to invite correspondents. I'd love to talk to your audience if they'd like to be involved.
Interesting. All these links will be in the comment section. You can click on those links and reach out to Dr. Wade. Dr. Wade, this was so much fun. Thanks for sharing your story, your insights, and for showing what real innovation inside a university can look like. That's a wrap for this episode of School to Startup. We talked about real-world learning, global collaboration, and how failure can actually be your best teacher. A huge thanks to Dr. Wade for joining us and sharing his insights and his wisdom. And for everyone watching, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Tracxn channel. Click the bell icon so you never miss what's coming next. See you next time.